Coming to America 2. Who would have thought that 30 years after the original movie, that we would get a sequel to the 1988 classic? Like most people, I have my own opinions about this movie. Did I enjoy this unexpected sequel to one of my favorite movies growing up? The answer is yes. Do I think it was as memorable as the original movie? And did it keep me interested throughout the 2-hour duration? Now, this is where it gets complicated for me. Although I did enjoy this movie for what it was, it didn't fully hold my attention or kept me engaged like the original movie did. As I watch this movie, there are many things that take me out of the experience. The appeal and the magic of the original movie, for me at least, was missing. So I'm going to break this down. In my opinion, the details as to why Coming to America 2 left me wanting more. Why was this movie good to me, but not great? So let's start with the directors of both the original and the sequel. The first movie was directed by John Landis. His resume consists of the 1983 movie Trading Places and the Michael Jackson music video Thriller. Coming to America 2 was directed by Craig Brewer. He directed movies like Hustle and Flow and Dolomite Is My Name. Both John and Craig have great resumes, and they also have worked with Eddie Murphy more than once. So my problem is not with the director. My issue falls within a broader spectrum. One of my major gripes with movies today is that 90% of movies made rely too heavily on green screens and computer animated graphics, instead of using practical effects and shooting scenes on site at actual locations. So you may ask, what does this have to do with the overall movie? Well, allow me to explain my reasoning behind this. Coming to America 2 made me feel a little too claustrophobic with its closed environments and lack of authenticity within the atmosphere of each setting, with the exception of the scenes at the Royal Palace, which was, by the way, shot at Rick Ross's mansion. Almost every other scene outside of the mansion was shot in a computer graphic backdrop, while the original movie used real-life locations that we can actually visit to this day. The atmosphere and the vibe of the original movie was brought to life by the relatable setting of the many locations shot within New York City. Whether it was the airport or the subway, each scene felt full of life, where most scenes in Coming to America 2 felt a little lifeless to me and empty by comparison. The magic of the first film comes from one of the many characters that most people tend to overlook: the background. The background and setting is a character within itself. For instance, when Hakeem and Simi arrived to New York and they were looking for a place to stay, they found themselves at a rundown apartment complex. As they are walking around this apartment with the landlord, I'm pretty sure you get a sense of what they're both feeling at that point and what that place smells like. These kind of scenes bring you in to the experience because of the authentic backdrop. Now let's head over to McDowell's. This was actually shot in a real restaurant and was remodeled as a set piece for McDowell's. Every scene from this building felt relatable and real. This location was filled with life and activity that people who live and work within the inner cities of America can relate to. Oh, and who can forget that classic Samuel L. Jackson scene? Today, this McDowell's location is a Wendy's, or rather, was a Wendy's. This location was demolished back in 2013. So if you ever decide to go on a location tour, that would be one place you have to use your imagination to fill in the blanks. Let's get back to Coming to America 2. Now, as I mentioned before, Rick Ross's mansion was used as the Royal Palace. Outside of the CGI backgrounds that were used in this movie, it seemed like the remaining 50% took place inside the palace. It felt like I was actually trapped inside of a box watching most of these scenes. The original movie felt like an adventure. It took you on a ride and kept me entertained all the way through. The adventure aspect of the first movie was completely missing this time around. Overall, the sequel was funny, but honestly, I cannot remember the jokes or the one-liners. Everything just felt like a high-budget Tyler Perry movie that takes place in a more politically correct society with less substance. On the bright side, Wesley Snipes and Leslie Jones did a great job with their roles. In this film, they stole every scene they were in. As far as comedy goes, they both held this movie on their shoulders. For me, at least. And ironically, they are newer characters to the franchise. I wasn't expecting these characters to be one of the major highlights for me. Definitely a nice surprise. Now don't forget, these are just my opinions. I don't hate Coming to America 2, but I don't love it either. We all have different expectations in how we critique things, and that is what makes us, as viewers, such a diverse community. We can all watch the same movie and walk away with different perspectives and experiences. Speaking of which, what do you guys think? How did you enjoy this movie? I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys have to say. Until then, be safe and stay blessed.